Recently, I had an interesting question in my head. Based on the type of the attack alone, what is the highest super effective damage multiplier possible? That also led me to ponder the inverse. Today, I'm going to explain how moves of certain types can be as much as 48 times super effective or 48 times resisted. But first, a few ground rules. I'm considering only type-based multipliers here. That means no general damage multipliers like Assault Vest, Friend Guard, or stat changes. I'm also ignoring any potential boosts to the attacker. It doesn't really impact the type-based damage multiplier in an interesting way, and it adds an unnecessary layer of complexity. Finally, I will be considering field conditions that modify damage according to the type of the attack, so things like weather are fair play. Before I talk about mechanics that enhance the multipliers, I want to clear a few mechanics that don't really help. Firstly, and surprisingly, items. Because I'm only considering the target of moves, I'm only interested in items that increase or reduce damage taken by the Pokemon holding the item. There are no items that increase damage taken based on type, and the only items that reduce damage taken are the resistance berries. The berries only work on super effective attacks, so no dice there. Another mechanic that seems like it would be helpful is Purifying Salt. It gives the user a ghost resist, but since only Dark resists ghost, the most you can get with it is a 4 times ghost resist, which isn't very impressive. Likewise, a Steel type in Misty Terrain will only get a 4 times resistance to Dragon type moves, so again, not that great. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into the fun stuff. First, I'm going to talk about multipliers for resisted attacks. Two moves that really make this topic interesting are Forest Curse and Trick or Treat, which add grass and ghost typing to the target respectively. This is because these moves are the only way to give a Pokemon 3 types at once. For example, if you use Trick or Treat on Golem, it will then be a Rock, Ground, and Ghost type Pokemon. As such, this Golem would have an octuple resistance to Poison type moves. Similarly, using Trick or Treat on Heatran would give it an octuple resistance to Bug type moves. That's about as far as Trick or Treat goes, but Forest Curse is the real treasure trove. Not only does Grass have more resistances than Ghost, but it also synergizes with some field conditions. The obvious field condition that impacts types is weather. Specifically, Sun halves water type damage, and Rain halves fire type damage. By using Forest Curse on a water dragon type and setting up Sun, that Pokemon will have a 16 times resistance to water type moves. However, there's an even more powerful field condition when it comes to reducing type specific damage. Two moves that got Dexited and never came back are Mud Sport and Water Sport. These moves set up a field condition which reduced the effectiveness of electric and fire type moves by 67%. That means an electric dragon type which added grass typing from Forest Curse in Mud Sport has a staggering 24 times resistance to electric type moves. But we can take even this another step further. To achieve the ultimate resistance, we have to involve abilities. In particular, either of the 3 abilities that have damage taken from fire type attacks will do. Fire is the type to aim for since the effects of Water Sport and Rain can stack. The final setup is setting up Rain, Water Sport, and giving a Pokemon with any of these 3 types either of the 3 fire resisting abilities for a whopping 48 times resistance to fire type moves. Water Sport is really doing the heavy lifting here by taking this resistance multiplier from 16 to 48. All of these resistances are awesome, but you might just be better off using something with Flash Fire. As far as getting super effective multipliers beyond 4 goes, there are 3 things I'm going to discuss, and all of them involve Forest Curse. The first 2 are both specific to moves. Firstly, Freeze Dry. Since it deals super effective damage to Pokemon weak to Ice and Water types, we can stack that with Forest Curse to get an octuple super effective attack on all of these type combos. The other move is Flying Press, the signature move of Hawlucha and a very unique move as well. Flying Press simultaneously deals flying and fighting type damage, which gives it these offensive properties. This can also be stacked with Forest Curse on these type combos to get another octuple super effective attack. However, both of these pale in comparison to the ultimate super effective attack. Once again, we gotta use abilities, but in this case, there's only one ability that increases the damage taken from a certain type of attack. That ability is Fluffy, which makes the user take double damage from fire type attacks. We also need Sun, which increases the effectiveness of fire type moves by 50%. Finally, we need another signature move that I'm betting a lot of you have never even heard of, Tar Shot. Tar Shot is a signature move of Colossal, and its effect is twofold. Firstly, it lowers the target speed by 1 stage. Secondly, and the one that matters here, is that it makes the target take double damage from fire type moves. Finally, that leaves us with any of these non-grass, quadruple fire weak type combos to target. So that means if you take a Scizor, give it grass typing with Forest Curse, give it the ability Fluffy, use Tar Shot on it, and set up the Sun, it will take 48 times super effective damage from fire type attacks. For reference, that is 2,304 times more damage taken from fire type attacks than the ultimate resist target takes. Fun fact, these damage multipliers are part of the setup for dealing the most damage possible in a single attack in Gen 8. I think it's safe to say that fire type moves against this target are indeed super effective. What I've learned while making this video is that Game Freak loves making extra interactions with the fire type for some reason. Also, shout out to these 3 videos, which have all discussed the setup for making a Pokemon very, very weak to fire type attacks. I also came up with this idea, but when I realized other people have made videos about, I decided it would be interesting to talk about the most resisted attack possible as well. Anyway, if you made it this far and you found it interesting too, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. That's all for this video, so I'll see you next time. Take care.